follow the script. I am John Stapleton. I'm the chairman of the board of directors. And I have here with me today Charles Motley, who is the CEO and director of the company, and James Ricketts, who is secretary of the corporation and on the board of directors. In the back, I'm looking for, there he is, Steve Antol, our CFO, and Steve will be doing the accounting of the meeting and give us an update on the vote counts, etc. This meeting is going to be held at 10 o'clock today, and as such, I would like to call that meeting to order right now. The introductions of the directors and officers that are here should be so noted in the record. And I am very pleased to announce that we have, through presence and proxy, a quorum. And the company's operations for this last year and what's coming up are really going to be the focus of this meeting. First, we'll take care of the formal part of the business. To ensure that we satisfy the legal requirements of today's meeting, the formal portion of the meeting will be conducted from this script. The record date of the meeting is for shareholders as of April 13th, 2011. The holders of the company's common stock as of the close of business on that day were entitled to notice of this meeting and are entitled to vote on matters brought before this meeting. I've been informed by Mr. Antol that the shares entitled to vote at the meeting are either represented in person or by proxy, and accordingly that quorum is present. Mr. Antol is appointed then to act as the inspector of elections for this meeting. Mr. Antol will confirm the numbers of shares represented at the meeting and will count the votes. The proposals to be voted on today are to elect the 3 directors and to ratify the appointment of Malone Bailey LLP as the independent registered public accounting firm for the company for 2001. If you've already voted, you do not need to complete a ballot. If you are voting by ballot, please mark your ballot now and return it to the inspector of elections. If you wish to complete a ballot and have not received one, please raise your hand now and the inspector of elections will distribute one. Keep your hands up and Steve will find you and give you ballots to vote with. With the distribution of these ballots, we'll have and the voting of them, we'll have completed the formal portion of the meeting. What I'll do is I'll adjourn the meeting so that the ballots can be counted, and then we'll go into the presentation. Everybody who wanted a ballot has gotten one. Everybody who's wanted a ballot has gotten one. No hands are up. Okay, then I'm going to adjourn this formal portion of the meeting, allow Mr. Antol to do the counting, and we'll come back and report those results after the presentation. Okay? I'm always amazed when these wireless devices all work together. So if you see me looking over my shoulder occasionally, it's probably to be reassuring myself that it is working. My intention in this presentation is, with the fewest words possible, to answer the very specific issues of where our company is, what we've done to get here, and what we have left to do to get this company's claim to sale to a major mining company. That's the entire purpose of this presentation. If there are other topics that want to come up, we invite them. But let me walk through this presentation of a simple 8 exhibits, 8 slides. And to the topics that are being covered in the slides, I invite your questions as we go along. Other topics we'll pick up right after that. Is that acceptable? Good. In May of 2009, we were in some pretty dire straits. The company's stock was trading at 2 cents a share. There wasn't a plan, at least none that I knew of. There were no funds to operate the company with, and I didn't sense any sense of economic value in the company whatsoever, and any process by which we would come to an economic gain. As a significant shareholder myself, as an individual, I found this to be intolerable, and I did not want to see the company put into some kind of dissolution. By restructuring the company with a new board of directors, myself, Jim Ricketts, and Chuck Motley, we undertook to acquire gold and minerals, and the purpose here was to make the entire claim fall under the roof of one entity. And now ElCapitan is the 100% owner of the entire claim. Many of us have come together through that very acquisition. The new management that took responsibility for the ongoing operations is Chuck Motley as Chief Executive Officer and Steve Antol as Chief Financial Officer. The key issue that I'm driving at in this presentation are the following 4 points. We looked at where we were and looked at the dilemma that we were facing, and we said we've got to get a simple strategy that we can execute and get it through the steps of execution. We have to satisfy ourselves about the assays in order to establish the value of this ore. What the core underlying question here is, are we doing something that has real merit to do it? And without that information, we didn't know that answer. We had a lot of good feelings about it, but we said the first thing we want to do is establish those assay values. Secondly, we want to determine what the viable either single or multiple recovery methods for this very complex ore are. Third, we'd have to determine the costs of that recovery to be sure we had an economically viable proposition. And finally, we have to engage an investment banker so that we would be able to sell this property. We do not for a moment believe that we have the ability to do that ourselves. So that's the 4-step plan that we've been operating against since May of 2009. And what I'll do now is talk to you specifically about what progress we've made against that. We've conducted and continue to conduct, but we've conducted numerous assay methods and completed them, establishing that the ore is of commercial value. And I'll speak to that in at least one instance here in a moment. The smelt that was done on the concentrated ores, which was, and this data was released in a press release a couple of months back, produced a doré bar, which was sold to Gannon and Scott, a precious metals refiner. They paid for that based on a 1.2 ounces per ton gold equivalent. So this is not an assay, this is a sale. This is as definitive as one could get about that ore. that ore we believe to be representative of the 200 acres we're focused on in this project. We have also been able to establish, while we continue to work on it, we've been able to establish our ability to recover ore in a range of $225 to $450 per ton of recovery. The reason for that range is we have more than one recovery method in process. Different recovery methods produce different results, so it isn't a one-for-one equation. So I think if, well, I will say straight out, from my perspective, I am absolutely comfortable that we understand the value of our ore, and we understand it definitively. We have a process by which we've established a value of what can be recovered, and we did that through an independent commercial organization. And we are quite comfortable that within the range of $225 to $450 a ton, recovery can be done on a production basis. I'm going to stop and let anybody raise a question there.